Fatal Frame 2 is a rarity in that it doesn't have any male playable characters like Mafuyu, Kei, Choshiro, or Ren. So instead, this week we'll be taking a look at one of the rather important side characters, although we never actually get to play as him. The unfortunate remaining, Tachibana Itsuki. 1. Itsuki's birthday is never explicitly stated anywhere, but through some detective work and putting the pieces together from other events and dates that we do know, he was likely born around 1894 or so, give or take a few years. And because he was 16 when he died, this means he likely died around 1910-ish. 2. Itsuki's last name, Tachibana, uses the characters for stand, as in to stand upright, and flower. This is an incredibly common surname, and can also be used to describe a school of ikebana, or flower arrangement, as well. 3. Itsuki's first name uses the characters for tree and month or moon. This combination of characters can also be read as Tatsuki or Kitsuki, and while it isn't a terribly common name, it's not that rare either. And of course, it pairs with his brother, Mutsuki, whose name means the first month of the lunar calendar. 4. On that note, Itsuki was born after his twin Mutsuki. For the majority of the world, that would make Itsuki the younger brother. But because of Minakami's belief that the second-born was actually the more powerful one, who allowed the other twin to be born first, he was actually considered to be the eldest. This means that for the Crimson Sacrifice ritual, it was up to Itsuki, as the elder twin, to strangle Mutsuki, the younger, by the village's reckoning. 5. In Japanese, Itsuki was voiced by Hoshi Soichiro. You may better know him from pretty much every anime ever made. But of note for this channel, he also did Maebara Keiichi from the Higurashi series. Hoshi also voices Itsuki for the Deep Crimson Butterfly remake. 6. In English, he was voiced by Sam Saletta, who has also done a decent amount of acting and voice acting over the years, and even did some dubbing for Gantz and Elfen Lied, another series I enjoyed back in the day. For the Deep Crimson Butterfly remake, he was voiced in English by Cameron Stewart. 7. As a male twin destined to perform the Crimson Sacrifice ritual, Itsuki was referred to as an altar twin. The Japanese term for this is simply futago miko, with futago meaning twin and miko, in this case, referring to an honorable child for boys, and shrine maidens for girls. To keep that sacred theme for the boys as well, the English opted to call them altar twins. The only other altar twin we know of in the series is Yaya and Saya's father, Kurosawa Ryokan. One of Makabe's notes in the game tells us that, generally, the Crimson Sacrifice ritual uses shrine maidens, so girls. But, if necessary, altar twins can be used as well. That rarity is probably why we don't see or hear of many throughout not just this game, but the series in general. 8. Growing up, neither Itsuki nor Mutsuki were especially happy with their roles in the upcoming ritual. The boys accepted that they had to do it, yes, but they hoped that by being the ones to shoulder this burden, they could save Yaya and Sae from the same fate. After all, if the Tachibana twins failed, the Kurosawa girls would be next in line. In fact, they were so worried about the girls that even before their own ritual, Itsuki and Mutsuki came up with a plan to get Yaya and Sae out of the village should their ritual fail. It was a simple plan to sneak the girls out through an old passageway under Kureha Shrine that has been sealed ever since some twins tried to escape through there long ago. Being slightly older than the Kurosawa twins, the Tachibana twins were extremely protective of them, and the Fatal Frame 2 guidebook even notes that the boys suspected their ritual would fail, which was why they went to such lengths to save the girls. 9. Itsuki and Mutsuki also had a younger sister, Chitose. Much like Mutsuki, she was not the healthiest kid around, and in one of her diaries she tells us, "My eyes are not too good." She was also a massive scaredy cat who hid at basically every sound, but considering her young age, that's not all that weird either. In fact, she seems to be too young to even understand what happened, and why her brother Mutsuki went missing after the ritual. And after the ritual, Itsuki gave Chitose a bell that she could wear on her wrist that would ring whenever trouble was near. Hearing that, he would be able to find and help her, no matter where she might be hiding. 10. While we don't know the full details of their ritual, Itsuki and Mutsuki did carry it out. However, it still failed. Apparently, this was because they simply loved each other too much. It appears the boys did consider running away beforehand, but in his diary, Itsuki tells us that Mutsuki is too weak to run away, and there is no way I can carry him. He said he'd forgive me no matter what happens. He does not want Saye and Yaye to suffer either. However, the failure of their ritual left Itsuki with massive guilt, not just because it meant Yaye and Saye were next in line, but because I could not make him into a butterfly. I could not become one with him. It is all my fault. 11. After the ritual, Itsuki's naturally black hair turned white. This is noted as a side effect for some, but not all, remaining. Why this does or doesn't happen is unclear, as it can happen with both successful and failed rituals, and sometimes it just doesn't happen at all. Hair turning white in media tends to indicate someone has undergone massive trauma, and after the remake came out, Shibata mentioned in an interview that, in Itsuki's case, his hair turned white due to him blaming himself over what happened. 12. On that note, during the conception stage, Itsuki was originally going to be a 20-year-old white-haired woman. According to Shibata, he had a dream of such a woman who sounded exhausted and fed up with everything. A sad woman in a white kimono with white hair, who spoke with incredible regret over something she had done. Initially, Shibata thought this woman might be Mio in the future, remaining in the village after killing Mayu and perhaps even helping herself in a time loop situation. But as the story developed further, the character changed to become male, and thus Itsuki was born. The idea wasn't entirely scrapped, however, as she instead became the basis for Kureha in the remake later on. 13. Trying to keep his promise to Mutsuki, Itsuki wrote a letter to one Munakata Ryozo after their failed ritual. Ryozo was an old childhood friend who visited Minakami village with his father, a peddler, 10 years earlier. As we know, Ryozo was successful in having his mentor, Makabe, agree to visit the village, and it was Ryozo who was there to save Yaye after everything went down. So, in a way, Itsuki is responsible for the entire Hinasaki family, and the many curses they would break in the years to come. 14. After Ryozo arrives in the village, Itsuki fears the other villagers mean to use him as a sacrifice, and so plans to help him get out of there as soon as possible as well. Getting Ryozo and the Kurosawa twins out may well be the last task I ever perform, he tells us in his final diary. That's because Itsuki, who by this point has been locked in a storehouse for helping the twins actually escape, planned to end his own life afterwards so he could join his brother. And this he did, hanging himself inside, unaware that Saye had been captured and brought back, and Yaye and Ryozo were the only ones to escape. 15. And finally, Itsuki is involved in 2 different endings to the game. In the promise ending, Yaye and Saye reunite, and crimson butterflies spread out all over the village. In one scene, we can see the spirits of the Tachibana siblings watching them fly out of the abyss. And in the Shadow Festival ending, exclusive to the remake, Mio and Mayu reminisce of an old festival they attended as children, as darkness spews out of the abyss once more. As this happens, we can see Itsuki in his cell, a crimson butterfly leaving his hand as darkness swallows the village. And that is 15 facts about Tachibana Itsuki, the unfortunate remaining from the second Fatal Frame game. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other characters or games you'd like me to explore? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.